Hi everyone, welcome to the Warhammer 3 Trials, where we pit two different units against each other in a variety of battles to test their mettle. On the lineup today, we have the Empire Swordsmen, one of the most experienced and weakest swordsmen in all the Warhammer or War franchise. Going up against the the High Elves, newest member of their roster, the Ships Company, hailing from the Tides of Torment DLC. These rookies are looking to prove their swordsmanship against their more experienced opponent. Now, before the battles begin, we're going to take a look at and compare their stat cards. So comparing the swordsmen to the Ships Company, the swordsmen do feature 720 full HP with the same amount of entities. They have 2 more melee attack than the Ships Company as well. While the Ship Company features 10 more leadership, 3 more speed, 4 more melee defense, and 2 weapon strength. Keep this in mind, they also have martial prowess, because the High Elves like to cheat in everything that they do, which gives them the 12 melee defense and 2 melee attack. It's enabled when they have more than 25% HP. Now, before the main event starts, we're going to have the 2 team captains fight in the center to decide who chooses the first battle scenario. Captain of the Ships Company team is the Company of Caladrian, which they have very great axe infantry in this case. They have armor piercing, naval discipline, martial mastery, as well as armor piercing, going up against the Empire Swordsman captain, the Sigmar Sons, who pretty much have Unbreakable. Now they're both going to charge into each other head on and decide who will choose the first battle event. Now, as I said before, the Ships Company Regiment Renown do have great axes, while the Sigmar Sons do have Unbreakable. However, the Sigmar Sons stats are overall worse compared to the two. It depends if the Sigmar Sons can do enough damage as fast as possible to get rid of that martial mastery. Right now, it's still pretty much neck to neck. Sigmar Sons lost 40, while Ships Company lost a little over 40 at this point. Still pretty much anybody's first match. Now, it does look like the Ships Company is winning on their left flank. However, the Empire looks like they're winning their right flank, so they might be twisting into each other here soon. Ships Company is at 44, while the Sigmar Sons at 27. They're dropping like flies at this point. Now, martial mastery has been turned off, so this might be a little bit even of a matchup now. Looks like Ships Company is still leading with 10 more entities than the Sigmar Sons. But the left flank of the Ships Company has been won, and then the right flank has been won by Empire. Looks like they're just kind of staring at each other right now by trying to decide who they attack first, as both sides are heavily weakened and heavily wounded. We're seeing some nice parries happening with the swordsmen right now. Not so much from the High Elves. The High Elves really don't care if they get hit or not. Well, some guy lost his head and his arm. Right now it's 12 Sigmar Sons versus 22 Ships Company. It does look like the Ships Company will end up winning this initial fight. Ships Company is starting to waver. They're both tired. I don't think 7 Sigmar's sons can beat back 18 of the Kalajian company. Down to the last 3 swordsmen, putting up a great final stand here. 2 swordsmen. Oh, one more. Can he get one more kill in before he's finished? Taking a lot of hits, and he is down for the count. So it looks like the company of the Kalajian won with 15 units remaining. And they are wavering and they're very tired, so we are going to retire them up the mountainside. Since the High Elves won first, they're going to choose to charge first. So the Empire Sword, the first set of Empire Swordmen are going to march forward and hold their ground, while the ship's company are going to charge head on to them. And we shall see if bracing swordsmen can fare a little bit better off than counter-charging swordsmen. Now let's see how well the bracing swordsman would do against charging ship's company. Overall, it looks like a pretty even trade from this angle. Now let's try and check to see what's going on here. Looks like 3 of the ship's company appear to be losing, not 4, but the one on the far right appears to be winning somehow. While the swordsmen are not faring very well at all. Each of them are below 100 units. Or each of them are below 100 units. While the ship company are still holding steady, a couple of them did dip below 100, but there is 2 more that are keeping above it right now. But it doesn't look like anybody's really making ground, not seeing any particular unit pushing through or enveloping another unit. However, it does look like the right flank of the ship's company appear to be overwhelming the swordsmen on their flank. It does look like the swordsman morale is taking a dip, however the central line of the ship's company morale is starting to dip as well. It's just overlooking their health bars, they're still pretty equal at the moment. It does look like still a pretty close battle. Overall, equal numbers across both sides. We are starting to see some wavering going on down here and in the center with the ship company. However, their martial prowess is still active at the moment. As soon as they lose that, they're going to lose 12 melee defense, which might be their doom. It does in fact look like the ship company are actually starting to lose now. However, we do see 3 units of Empire Swordsmen starting to waver while the ship's company are holding fast. Oh, nope, one ship's company is starting to waver. And it looks like the far left of the swordsmen have in fact routed. It does look like the entire middle line has routed. However, the swordsman right flank still seems to be holding right now. 19 to 28 swordsmen. The swordsmen might win this flank. Martial prowess is turned off for them. And it looks like the ship's company have routed on this flank. So overall, looks like the swordsmen managed to only hold out 1 defense against a total of 5 ships company. Well, the ship's company only lost 1 charge of it. So now we are going to retire all of this group up to the mountainside, where they will just watch from their stands, provide no interference at all, and we will march up the second group of people. Now on to the second event. Since the High Elves won that first event, they're going to choose to do a counter charge now. And as their captain won the counter charge, they're thinking they can win this counter charge as well. We can go ahead and start ordering them to charge. Swordsmen are looking to make a comeback here. But they don't want to be defeated by the rookies, the new kids on the block. Both sides leaping over each other's heads to try to get some form of advantage. Just judging by that charge, looks like both sides did take pretty hefty losses. However, Empire looks like it took a little bit more. It does look like the High Elves are enveloping on their left flank just a little bit. There's one guy that managed to jump over everybody. And he got stabbed in the back by 3 Empire Swordsmen. Should have probably stayed with his line. You have another random Swordsman in the back as well. Looks like it's a proper 1v1, of course. Oh, looks like a second one wants to join in. Definitely just staying up, and the second one ran interference. Does look like martial prowess is still active. Losses look about equal. However, last time the Swordsman did break at the very last minute. Of course, the High Elves do have that 10 leadership naturally as well, which is really helpful for them. Looks like really no units making too much headway besides the High Elves on the left flank here. Overall, it does look like the High Elves are sporting about equal numbers still, maybe 10 units more than some Swordsman unit. Got a little separation going on in the left flank here. Somehow the lines got a little bit skewed, but that's fine. Does look like 3 Empire Swordsmen are starting to waver. Got both on their right flank as well as one in the center. And it looks like the right flank has routed first. Does look like all 4 Swordsman units are starting to waver. And it looks like the High Elves Ships Company have won all 5 charges against the Empire Swordsmen. However, the Ships Company definitely had taken some losses across the board here. Now for this next event, the High Elves Ships Company are going to be going to have the rear facing the Empire Swordsmen while they charge into their rear. To see how well to perform in situations where they might be enveloped. Now when the Empire Swordsmen are ready, they're going to start charging. The Empire Swordsmen so far have lost the counter charge against the High Elves as well as bracing against the High Elves. So we're going to see how well they do when they have the advantage of attacking first. Now, in most other Total War games, a rear charge is detrimental to morale. However, in Warhammer 3, you don't really not get to see that much of a shock value. With the High Elves sporting that higher morale, we don't think anything will really happen. Now just looking at the charge, you can tell that the High Elves actually did take quite a bit of chunk, and in this case they actually did take a little bit of morale loss, however they regained it back fairly quickly. Now the morale penalty doesn't last long enough to really matter in most situations here. But it does look like the number is fairly balanced. Swordsmen are sporting larger instant counts than the ship's company from that rear charge. So it does look like Empire Swordsmen may win this event. It also doesn't look like any particular unit is making any real headway. However, the High Elf lines are looking a little bit thinner already. And it does look like the High Elves are starting to make a little bit of a comeback. The unit numbers are starting to look a little bit more even now. However, the middle line is faring a little bit better than the flanks. It does look like the High Elves' morale are starting to dip a little low in the middle. Oh, we got one ship's company wavering. However, it looks like the flanks are still really close to each other. We got 3 ships company wavering. It does look like Empire might win the center, but the flanks could still go up for anybody. It does look like the right flank of the High Elves are starting to win that battle, but very, very slowly. Oh, the Swordsmen are starting to waver in the front a little bit as well. And it looks like we got 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 ships company that routed. So the middle has completely collapsed. Now it's just onto the flanks. Which the flanks are looking a little bit close. However, it does look like the High Elf Swordsmen are starting to get the advantage. However, the right flank of the High Elves looks like it's starting to fail, even though they do have the Swordsmen enveloped on all sides. And it looks like they have lost that one too. How can this, in the final ships company, win this battle? They are 44 to 32 Empire Swordsmen. Empire Swordsmen are starting to waver here. It does look like the High Elf Swordsmen are making some headway. However, both sides are starting to waver at the same time, and it looks like the Empire lost the left flank. However, they won 4 of the 5 rear charges, while the High Elf Swordsmen have only won 1 of them. Now, for this next event, since Empire has won, the Empire is electing to charge into Bracing Ships Company. Now the ship's company have won their charge against Bracing Swordsmen. We're going to see how well Swordsmen will fare against Bracing Ships Company. But so far from the total event, it looks like overall it's still extremely close battles. And since this isn't campaign, we're not seeing any campaign buffs or technologies or legendary lord or hero buffs as well. This is as even as we can make it. So when the Empire Swordsmen are ready, they're going to charge forward into the Bracing Ships Company. Bracing Ships Company do have that higher melee defense. We are going to see how well they perform. However, the Swordsmen do have that 2 melee attack. Both charge bonuses are equal in this regard as well. It does look like the Swordsmen on the far left are getting a little bit rowdy and they get charged ahead of the entire line somehow. But it does look like the ship's company are ready to meet them. Looks like a fairly even charge there, nothing exciting really happened. Overall, it doesn't look like the Ships Company have taken too much damage from that charge. It does look like it's still an overall even matchup. Looks like Ship Company have lost a little bit more entities in the charge, but it looked like they're still holding their own. They only lost a couple compared to the Swordsmen. Now, since they're a sword unit, they're generally not known to pick up race fairly well, unlike spearmen or halberd units. As at this point, it looks like it's still fairly even across the board. Nothing's really standing out. It does look like there's some envelopment going on the High Elves' left flank. However, the Swordsmen are pushing back a little bit. Look like health bars are still looking fairly even. Morale is still looking fairly even. However, it does look like Empires is just a little bit lower overall. It does look like the entity numbers are still fairly even as well. There's no clear advantage, except maybe one in the center, and maybe on the Swordsman left flank. It looked like the High Elves did lose that envelopment they were getting earlier in this stage of the fight. But the Empire Swordsmen definitely lost a lot of entities in this unit. They won't be holding out for much longer by the looks of it. Just kind of get a look, it looks like we got 3 swordsmen, 4 swordsmen that are wavering at this point. However, the middle is still staying firm. Middle is now wavering as well. So this might be a clean slate win for the Ships Company. The morale is still high. However, entity numbers are still fairly even overall. Favoring High Elves a little bit though, and it looks like 1 has routed, 2 has routed, 3 has routed. Middle is still holding, and right flank is routed, and now middle has routed as well. Now for this final event, we're going to have the High Elves Ships Company charge the rear of the Empire Swordsmen. Now, the last time when the Empire did this, they won 4 of their battles against the ships, so I'm just going to guess that they're going to win all 5 with their rear charge, but we shall see. Once again, the charge values are the exact same across the board for these 2 units. And there we go with the charge. Looked like a fairly wimpy charge in what we have seen previously. I do say that the Swordsmen put our rear charge themselves. Overall looking, looks like the central swordsmen have lost the highest morale, while the flanks seem to help hold firm for some odd reason. Usually we see the flanks kind of falter a little bit faster. But it does look like the High Elves have a little bit higher entity count in their units right now. Not by much though, we do have a tie for the left flank here of the Swordsmen. However, morale still hasn't fully recovered from the Swordsmen at all. So it looks like this will be a clear win for the High Elves. does look like we got 2 Empire Swords unit routing at looks like 60 entities and 56 entities. This is the fastest I think we've seen them route in this event. We got Horde Swordsman unit wavering now. However, the Ships Company are still holding strong. We got all 5 of them wavering at this point. It does look like this will be another clean win for the Ships Company. 3 have routed, 4 have routed, and it looks like one, the far left flank, has routed as well. Now it does look like the Ships Company did take a little damage from this, but still fairly healthy to fight another battle if need be. And there you have it, concluding the final event of the Warhammer 3 Trials of High Elves Ships Company versus Empire Swordsmen. Overall, the Ships Company have won the majority of battles. They won the majority of the events, only really losing the rear defense against the Empire. Now looking up their stat cards right now, on the charge, we have the Ships Company winning 4 of their charges, while the Empire losing all of their charges. For bracing, with the Empire winning against 1 of those, while the Ship Company winning against 5 of their braces. And for the counter charge, we have the Ship Company winning all 5, while Empire losing all of it. For the rear charge, we have Ship Company winning 5 of those, while the Empire won 4 of those. And for the rear defense, we do have Ship Company winning 1 of those, and the Empire losing all of them. And for each point on their stats, it's equal to a 20% win. So for instance, Ship Company, when going against Empire Swordsmen, have a 8% of winning, while the Empire has an 8% chance of winning a rear charge against the Ship Company. Now for the overall stats, the Ship Company have won a total of 20 battles in this event, equaling out to 80% win rate against Empire Swordsmen, while the Empire only has won 5 battles in this event, equaling out to a 20% win ratio when paired up against the Ship Company. And that concludes this Warhammer 3 Trials event. But once again, overall, the Ship Company have won the majority of the battles, therefore they are the winner. And if you, the audience, have any unit suggestions for the next trials, whether it be Halberds versus Cav, or Cav versus Dragons, please let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video overall, please leave us a like and subscribe for notifications when we go live, upload a video, or do any other shenanigans like this on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the bell to actually get notified of said shenanigans on YouTube.